A wildfire couldn't do that, but you know what possibly could? A direct laser that somebody is controlling from either a plane or from space. Because last I checked, nature doesn't discriminate against color or people's income. Today we're going to talk about the fires going on in Maui, which if you haven't heard that, you either probably live under a rock or you're Joe Biden.
Come on, man.
Anyway, we're going to talk about the failure from the local, state, and federal government, as well as the fact that it was beautiful to see all of the Hawaiians come together and support each other, even though their government did squat to help them. So all over the islands of Hawaii, they have all sorts of alarms scattered all along the coastline that give native residents warning when a hurricane or a tsunami is supposed to come.
Warning! Warning! Warning!
Now, conveniently, none of the alarms went off when this supposed Cat 4 hurricane was supposed to hit land. That ended up turning into these Hawaiian fires. Now, you could say that it was just a malfunction or ignorance on an employee's behalf, or you could go down the route of somebody purposely did this to make sure that that death toll went up. But all I'm saying is, it's sus.
Had we sounded the siren that night, we're afraid that people would have gone Malka. And if that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Personally, I believe this is along the side of just ignorance, or just they truly didn't care. Because the dude who is in charge of the emergency management for the area, Herman, said that he didn't want to turn the sirens on because he didn't want people running up the mountain. Now, I personally, if I was about to be, burned alive by a giant wild forest fire, I would want some kind of warning. Any warning, just something. So many different Hawaiians have come out on platforms like TikTok saying that they would have appreciated just anything. Now, I will say a lot of these hurricane warning systems today have the ability to turn on basically a PA system and tell them what to do if they don't have already a pre-recorded message, but they didn't even attempt to do that or play another message. So this begs the question, why did you purposely not sound an alarm to warn your people that there was an impending doom on the way? And all I'm gonna say is, you might smell a rat when the person who conveniently didn't turn on the alarms resigns the next day due to health issues. That's quite the coincidence if you're trying to, tuck tail and run. So as the Weather Channel admits, supposedly this hurricane went out to sea and it didn't ever touch land. And the high velocity 60-mile-per-hour winds, plus this power line going down, truly all speculation at this point, is what started these fires in the first place. But the water was conveniently turned off. Now, me personally, when my family has been involved in hurricanes before, our water was never turned off. But if you're dealing with a fire, which we've also experienced before, you go out there with a garden hose and you try your best to take care of your own land and property. So when people are trying to put out these fires, it's very convenient that the one thing that could get rid of the fire just so happens to be turned off. Now, the Governor Josh Green contests the management and conflict of the water to being caused by the reshaping of climate change and wildfires in Hawaii. Now, that's a pretty lame excuse if you ask me when it comes to a wildfire that has been now deemed the most devastating American wildfire to date. So as of right now, the official numbers are 114 people dead, 850 people are missing, 3,000 homes and businesses have been destroyed, and it's estimated that there is about $6 billion in loss. But I would also like to say that these are numbers that we got from, guess who? The government. And Hawaiian residents themselves have been coming out on platforms like Instagram and TikTok.
The same waters that our people just died in 3 days ago are the same waters the very next day these visitors, tourists were swimming in. And that says a lot about where their heart and mind is through all of this and where our heart and mind is though. You don't see our people swimming, snorkeling, surfing. Nobody is having fun in tragedy and continuing their lives like nothing has happened.
So the local rich elite government has failed Maui, but let's talk about the federal amazing Biden administration that in true good old Joe fashion decided that he would very graciously love to pay $700 per household to all of the families in Maui that literally had their lives burnt to the ground.
If I were to give you some money out of my wallet, would that ease the pain?
In case you can't do math because you went to public school, that's about $2.1 million. And rightfully so, the dude got just a little bit of backlash for it. So, just a few days later, he decided to graciously give, or I should say offer to Congress, that we should give Hawaii $12 billion. But of course, the federal government liking to have every single red string possible in yellow tape, we can only give that money to Hawaii if Ukraine gets $24 billion. Now, I don't know about y'all, but if Ukraine looks like this...
Here's your trigger warning. This is just terrible stuff. This is footage from Kyiv. People barely have any clothes. You know, they're having to stand in lines. Who knows? Maybe they have nothing to... You know, they have no water to drink. They have to drink margaritas instead. Again, barely any clothing at all here.
And Hawaii looks like this? All I'm gonna say is our own country could probably use it just a little bit more. But everybody knows that when he gives it to Ukraine, it's gonna go right back to his son through his beautiful paintings. See, y'all, this is what conservatives and Republicans meant when we say that this country, especially the Biden administration, is no longer America first. Because our Congress can't even agree that we should maybe, just maybe, give some of our tax dollars to our own country that has been burnt to the crisp. But instead, we have to have these bills filled with all of this garbage and meat because, you know, I'm not going to pass your bill unless you put this in my bill. And then if I put this in my bill, I'll give you that for your bill because Congress is in bed with each other. Republicans, rhinos, liberals, libtards, and the whole uniparty is all one big conspiracy theory that just likes to line each other's pockets in dark corners and dark places. But, hey, that's our federal government for us. So your house just got burnt to the ground and you can't find some of your family members and you don't have any cash except the $700 of chump change from the government, but you get a phone call from a realtor offering you cash for the plot of land that your house was on. Now, this isn't a state or a local or even a federal government issue. This is more of a morality issue, but we literally have realtors preying off of the loss of families in Hawaii to have this massive land grab because they know that people are struggling, people are at a loss, people have no money and no resources, and they're definitely going to be desperate. So the likelihood that these realtors can make a quick buck off of the American people and then turn these houses into condos for the rich and the elite and even more ridiculous places for all of these rich politicians to go enjoy is just sort of sickening to me that we would do this to ourselves. But then again, a house divided against itself cannot stand, and if you don't even like the country that you live in, it doesn't surprise me that you would turn on it. And fine, America's a free market. Why can't someone make an offer for a burnt to the crisp plot of land? I mean, you could do that, but that would make you a terrible person. Could you at least wait until the smoke has cleared and all of the little spot fires have disappeared before you go and you start preying on people who are in a state of panic, loss, and shock? Please? Listen, I'm all for being able to cash is king, spend money, let's have capitalism. If you want something, go ahead and buy it. But morals, guys. You still gotta have morals even when you're going through business transactions. And like any good rich elite person, you can never let a good disaster go to waste. So guess what everyone's favorite talk show host decided to go do? Well, a certain lady named Oprah decided that she was going to go hand out some pillows to the people in these refugee centers with a whole camera crew with media and boom mics and lights and cameras, the whole 9 yards. Because remember, if you're going to go do a good deed, you got to make sure you get it on video so you can post it on Instagram. Personally, with all these rich people, I like to be just a little bit petty. So I found it very satisfactory to know that Oprah, when she tried to take her whole media crew to go hand out more $10 pillows to another building with a whole bunch of people who literally just have the clothes on their backs to their names now, that she ended up getting turned away because the people in there don't need to be exploited for one rich woman in Hollywood to go do her one act of kindness before she ends up taking the rest of Hawaii for herself for dirt cheap because it's been burnt to the ground. Now listen, you can argue that these fires were caused because they didn't keep their trees well trimmed and a power line fell on them and it was caught in a Ring doorbell, and that's how these wildfires started. I personally have some other opinions. Now I'm just going to say this is purely some speculation and theory based off of a lot of facts that we have today. So here we go. So in January of this year, Native Hawaiians were noticing that there were eerie green laser lights over the islands from January all the way until March. And for a long time, no one could explain what these were until it was discovered that it was a Chinese satellite and they were testing it.
Experts say beams of green light flashing above Mauna Kea are likely from a Chinese satellite. Now, these are shots from the Subaru telescope late last month. The scientists there originally thought they were from a NASA satellite making a 3D map of the Earth. But then their NASA colleagues told them the lights match the pattern of a Chinese satellite that does the same thing.
Apparently they said they were sorry, but they just got caught. Is this another weather balloon that went across the entire continent and our government just did nothing, or are we in cahoots with them? I don't know. Now, I personally just all think that this is just a little bit sus, because it is a solitary fact that our nation, along with many others, have been experimenting with laser and microwave technology in the form of weapons for literal years. I mean, we did literally create nuclear bombs. Are you absolutely going to sit there and tell me that we haven't progressed technology just a little bit more to possibly make a laser that could start a fire, that you could be using it directly against your enemies or even your own country if you deemed it monetarily worthy of something that you wanted to do? Now, granted, these lasers, that's a fact, green lasers over Hawaii, they admitted that it was China, but is it even more nerve-wracking that it's the Chinese that has lasers aimed at America, or is it even more Matrix horrifying that our own country could possibly be doing it? I don't know. And I don't know, but this might be even worse if it does in fact end up being an attack against America on sovereign soil, Pearl Harbor, literally all over again, and our country's response is to cover it up and cover, tie, tail, and run. That actually might be even worse. This is like the Oklahoma bombing, 9/11, and Pearl Harbor all over again, with our government trying to tuck tail and run because they had a hand in it. Now, I might be embracing my inner cuter version of Alex Jones right now, but I don't think wildfires have the ability to not burn specific colors or specific housing. And I just find it a little bit sus that every single rich person's mansion, house, and property was completely unscathed by fire, as well as the color blue, ironically.
Laser weapons can be programmed for different wavelengths.
So this is what we're gonna go after. These umbrellas right here. Got all the devastation right next to it, but we got these umbrellas and these trees. The trees we could justify. We could say, you know, they're tall. People can make up all these excuses in their mind on how these two fit the equation. What you can't make an excuse for is the umbrellas. So are those really umbrellas? I mean, they look like umbrellas. So I found a video of someone flying a drone over there. Check it out. So there it is, guys. There's the umbrellas. There's the close-up, you know, those are umbrellas.
But a wildfire couldn't do that. But you know what possibly could? A direct laser that somebody is controlling from either a plane or from space. Because last I checked, nature doesn't discriminate against color or people's income. So amidst our government's inevitable failure to take care of its own citizens, I personally just find it beautiful that Hawaiians were able to come together with their jet skis and their boats and bring water and gasoline and food to each other against FEMA and the Red Crosses and the government's wishes. Because when the chips are down and your government has officially turned its back on you, you can always count on your fellow Americans, your true patriots, your that in a small town people to come together and have your back. Because if we won't have each other's back, then absolutely no one else will. Because you cannot trust our government to give you squat.